The Coach Peggy Show, all things wellness with Coach Peggy Wellms. How many people in your life have told you you're half of this or half of that? Have you settled for less than being all? Well, no more. Welcome to the Coach Peggy Show. I am Coach Peggy, and I'm telling you we are about all things wellness. My mission is to clarify wellness is not just nutrition and fitness. This show is about all things wellness, and you deserve it. It's about your money, about your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. We bust through your comfort zone and we're going to redefine your boundaries. We're going to extinguish your excuses and raise the bar to all things possible. It is time to use your ATM. You know, all things mindset. We're going to be bold and we're going to be badass. We're never going to be half in. So welcome to All Things Wellness. The Coach Peggy Show, all things wellness with Coach Peggy Wellms. How many people in your life have told you you're half of this or half of that? Have you settled for less than being all? Well, no more. Welcome to the Coach Peggy Show. I am Coach Peggy, and I'm telling you we are about all things wellness. My mission is to clarify wellness is not just nutrition and fitness. This show is about all things wellness, and you deserve it. It's about your money, about your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. We bust through your comfort zone and we're going to redefine your boundaries. We're going to extinguish your excuses. You know, that's always a sassy opening. I just have to dance to it. Hey, you guys, I am so excited. Hey, you're just like jamming here. You guys, welcome to the Coach Peggy Show, and I'm super excited tonight. Whether you're out walking or driving, please be safe. I'm sure you're listening to us on your favorite podcast, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find us. If you're watching us on Facebook, super cool. If you need to catch us on any repeats, peggywilms.com. On my radio tab, all my shows are there. Last week's show, talking about mayhem to miracles, just like we are this week. And you can, you need to catch last week's show because with Lori Walker and Laura Gray and Deborah Bouvet, which rhymes, was super cool. All right, you guys, every single Tuesday, except for Thanksgiving week, I am dedicating the show to this awesome book, Miracle to Mayhem, in which my backdrop matches it because it's that much fun. Mehdi, do you like that?
Absolutely, I love it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be in a hot air balloon.
Me too, but I'm kind of afraid of heights, so I don't know how that would go. Hey, listen, tonight we're talking about medical diagnoses that like just threw a few things, you know, sticks in our spokes. We're talking about some spiritual miracles here. So excited about that. And then we've got some addiction and just battles. We're coming back. And if you guys don't understand how a compilation book works, Reverend Ariel, Patricia, and Kat Canavas O'Keefe, co-authors of this book, put together about 30 of us and said, hey, write us a story of trials and tribulations where you guys can make a difference. Somebody out there is going to listen and maybe we're going to save some lives. And we were all like, okay, we are in. And if you'd like to hear my story, I battled a medical condition too and fought Western medicine and decided to save my child, who just had my first grandchild. So I'm glad that I fought that one. How are you guys doing tonight?
Right.
Excellent. Thank you.
Which is always going to be the answer. I've never had anybody go, I'm really sucking tonight and I just don't want to be here. And if you guys happen to see a gorgeous Rottweiler hop up and take a look right there by Mehdi, then it's going to be his little buddy. Oh, see, watch, we're going to take a peek. You look, you guys. Oh, shut up right now. Oh my gosh. If my sons are watching, they're going to be so jealous. Oh, what's his name, Mehdi?
Kingston.
Kingston.
Yeah.
The king. I mean, that's why he's acting the way he is, because anybody is named the king, the Kingston. I mean, come on, man. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. So Eileen, let me tell everybody a little bit about you because it's amazing. So Eileen Bild is the CEO of Ordinary to Extraordinary Life Hotel. What does Hotel Productions stand for, OTEL?
Well, it stands for Ordinary to Extraordinary Life. Hotel.
Because that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it does.
Don't you just love how intelligent am I? I was sitting here going, how come I don't even know what that stands for? What an idiot. Along with her husband, they have world-renowned multimedia and production companies specializing in Roku channel development for individuals, businesses, and nonprofits video production. Eileen is a columnist, published author, and breakthrough spark, SPARK coach. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Peggy. Great to see you again.
It's good to see you. So Mary Ellen and Mehdi are going to be listening along, and I kind of like to do each author a little bit on their own, and I'm always going to have those guys interject. But listen, hey, your story, sometimes when I have you guys on, we forget to give the listeners a really good kind of background of really the whole story, right? We tend to come in and skip the synopsis and forget the beginning and just go, hey, here's the result of what I did. But the listeners really are coming at this with fresh eyes, and they really want to understand where we've come to get to the place we are. I mean, Mehdi's come a long way in his young life. I can say that, Mehdi. And then Mary Ellen has a big background that we want to make sure that we go through. So Eileen, let's tell everybody kind of where you came before this recent trial that you had. Yuck.
Challenge.
Go
Well,
ahead.
so I actually had a medical challenge prior to this one. And that was, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and that was before it was even a household name. I mean, it was eons ago. And as you mentioned, you know, the traditional medical community, they just don't understand things the way that it needs to be understood. So years and years, 7 years passed, and I was on a basket full of medicine. I wasn't getting better, I was getting worse. I was like, this isn't working for me. So I dove headfirst into creating my own protocol, and I healed myself in 3 months from the fibromyalgia. So I was healthy. I was great for like 10 years, working out, just everything was going right along on a beautiful clip. And then I woke up one morning, and this spot right here was red, itchy, swollen, and I was at home, and I was like, what is this? I thought maybe it was cat scratch fever because we have a cat, but it wasn't. It was something much more dangerous and much worse. And so I went to the doctor and never had any real clue as to what it could be, but we just kind of one step after the other went through different stages of trying to figure out what was going on as it wasn't getting better, antibiotics. And finally he did a blood test, and I had an autoimmune issue. So again, like a fibromyalgia, which is autoimmune, I was bit, we concluded, by a brown recluse spider while in bed at home sleeping. Somehow it came in from the outside and decided no matter how much camping, boating, fishing I had done over the years, I never got bit by a spider, but I got bit at home. Oh, I was so mad. But anyway, so it's been 5 years, and at the beginning, I was on my deathbed, and it almost killed me. But I'm a fighter and I'm stubborn. So again, I put myself on a protocol, worked with a rheumatologist and a neurologist because it threw me into migraines and just totally upended my life. So that's where I came from.
You know, when I was reading your story, I was thinking about sometimes, or most of the time, when we have a medical diagnosis, unless you can see it, right? We spend our time in Western medicine going, you know, my back really hurts. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Or I have migraines, right? Well, when you have an autoimmune disorder, you know, even mental health, right? You guys, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm on the floor. Like I'm wanting to, you know, not wake up tomorrow. I'm going to do something to myself. People are like, you know, oh, whatever. But when I was thinking about your story, obviously you could see your spider bit you. But when you come from fibromyalgia or MS or anything rheumatoid, it's difficult to have Western medicine believe you kind of, so it's a battle. It's this internal fight to have people believe you. So I was thinking about your resilience and how much that built you up to really say, I'm going to approach this bite with battling, you know, I'm going to fight for myself, and I'm going to take this medicinal approach, because you took a little bit of a different path in curing yourself-ish on this, right?
I did, and I just want to throw in real quickly, and for people listening, never, ever tell someone it's in their head, because I had both with the fibromyalgia and with this, it's in your head, you know, because you can't see it, people, and I continue to live as best I could, we pretend, no matter what we're going through, we pretend that everything's okay, showing people externally, we're fine, and people may not see what we're going through internally. And it is a battle. It's a war. It's a war from within that has to be healed from within and outward. And so I just dosed myself with vitamins and minerals, and for 2 years I could barely eat, but I knew, based on my experience with the fibromyalgia, that I could get over the hump. And so part of my miracle in this story is because I stuck with my protocol, because I didn't give up, because I pushed, and I still worked, and I still did video productions, I still did everything. I was on my business. It allowed me to see a future and not, stay in bed and pull the sheets over and just say, I want this to end, which with the migraines, I did have that a few times, but I was aware enough to say, this too shall pass. But I persevered, and I mentioned in the book that each miracle that showed up gave me that much more strength to keep pushing. And I even recognized this week, I feel healthier. Now, we go camping once a month, so I can be in nature and outside by the ocean, by the lake. And to me, that's very, very important for healing and anything, to really balance the mind, body, and spirit. And so for me to be where I am today from a spider bite that almost killed me, I'm blessed and I'm fortunate to be able to have that inner strength to triumph at those different little miracles. And one of them I mentioned is even just biting into an onion when my body accepted it was a miracle for me, because I couldn't for the longest time eat anything spicy, onion, anything with vinegar. So just prior to the book, submitting my portion, I had that experience. And it was, if anybody has ever gone through a healing process, there's stages.
Absolutely.
And when your body has reached the end of one stage and goes to that next one. So I had reached not knowing until I bit. Well, actually, I was fixing salad and I got this intuitive nudge. It's okay to use onion. So I said, okay. So I put onion in. And when I took a bite, it was like my body said yes. I could just feel that energy of, the nutrients of the onion. So, if I've learned anything from this experience, which actually I like to say, I'm done. I don't need it anymore. These experiences.
Oh, girl.
Twice is enough. It's to be, it's to pay attention, because the body knows best. The body knows what it needs, no matter what we need to heal from.
I think in your story, another lesson is that it's really hard to take care of ourselves. I get it, with nutrition and exercise and sleeping well and mindset and organization, all those things in our life that we want to try to stay balanced and stay healthy. We're not taught that anymore early on, right? I mean, nobody sits down and says, oh, we have physical education required, but it really does make a difference. In you guys' story, I mean, whatever is thrown at us, that does give us something to fall back on. I mean, you did have some good flags, green flags instead of red flags, markers that nutritionally you were advancing, you were feeling better, you had some places to go. And if you didn't have that, some movement and some mindset experiences, I think it would have been, I know it would have been a little bit more of a challenge.
I believe, you're correct. And the other thing I think that's helped me is I meditate, or I teach meditation. So, I meditate. And I had to purposely every day bring in a positive mindset. So when I healed from the fibromyalgia, I stopped identifying with it. I stopped saying I have fibromyalgia.
Absolutely.
So with this, and I did some positive affirmations. I'm healthy, I'm healed, I am whatever I wanted to be. So with this, it's the same thing. I always envisioned my future self of how I want to be. And so my next stage of healing is I'm getting back to, I'm going to get back, I am getting back to the exercising again, because I couldn't exercise, because I couldn't
Right.
overheat myself, because the autoimmune would activate. So I think I'm at a point now where I can exercise enough that it'll make a difference and I can get that strength back. So I haven't given up,
Awesome.
and I just keep pushing forward. And again, each stage, I'm back to being healthier and that much closer to
Yeah.
being where I was before the spider bite.
You know, I always ask this question to my guests or clients or anything, and they try not to, they don't want to answer it, but I'm making you. So if I give you a magic wand, I always ask people, if I gave you a magic wand and you could go back, what would you change? And here's the standard answer, because I've been doing this for 32 years. Oh, I wouldn't change a thing, or I wouldn't be where I am today. No, 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 that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, there's still some wisdom that we could have maybe recognized something or changed a little bit that wouldn't have changed us immensely. So I'm going to change it a bit. If you were to give someone else some advice and you had some magic wand learnings that you have, what would you have done differently or recognized a little bit sooner in this particular story of yours?
It's a good question. I would have to say that I think to be more aware of the strength that I really do have
Ooh, I like
of
that.
being able to heal, because there were
Awesome.
times I wanted to give in and I wanted to give up, and you know, to stay strong, or to have been a little bit more forthcoming with people, and I'm dealing with this and I need to rest, because I pushed. I mean,
Exactly. Our young
I
selves. Ooh, we
pushed and I
push.
pushed and I pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's probably times I shouldn't have.
Yep.
And it's okay. It's okay to, you know, take that pause, to take that break when you're healing. And that, you know, there's nothing wrong with us going through a challenge, that's whether it's a health challenge or a mental challenge, and that
Right.
there are ways to move through it without overexerting ourselves. I guess
That's
is the
really
best
good.
way to say that.
Great answer. Mehdi,
Thank
what are
you.
your thoughts with Eileen's kind of her story, or her, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
I mean, like she was saying earlier, like she's using affirmations about what she wants to feel, right? So the power of I am is beyond anything that, I mean, we understand it, right? But a lot of people go like, oh, I am sad, oh, I'm feeling this way. And yesterday I had a little predicament with a car where I was stranded on the road and people were passing me by, and you know, the car died, and I could have easily be said, oh, I'm annoyed and all of that, but I just kept my zen. And then whatever madness people were shouting at me, I was like, it's okay, man. So it's like
Right.
she's using the law of attraction to perfection,
That's
I would
exactly
say.
right. Words matter. I mean, words are
Absolutely.
big time.
That's why
Words
it's called
matter.
spelling, right?
Yeah, and not, you know, we know that it takes 10 positives to negate one negative. And we know that, how much growing up, our mentors or whatever anybody might have just casually said to us can spin us for 40 years. It's a lot of counseling, Peggy. I know. Okay. Mary Ellen, what are your thoughts with Eileen's story?
Well, I love, Eileen, that you understood that you had your own reservoir of health inside, and that you were able to tap into that and know that despite, you know, the physical frailty you maybe were experiencing, or the lack of energy, or just the way you had to modify your life and adapt to the illness, that strength was still within you, and that you could call upon that as a resource and know that it was just as much a part of you and could come out into more fullness. And you've been working it, and you've been doing it, and good for you. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a
Good
fight.
feedback.
It was a fight for 2 or 3 years. Absolutely.
Building up that resilience for the next one. I always, I don't
I
think
know.
that that's negative. Right. I don't think
I don't want
that
an
that is a
next one.
negative approach, but it's emotional resilience and physical resilience to recognize where you've come and give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back and just keep becoming stronger, because the odds are we're going to get something else. There's going to be another life event. It's the roller coaster we're on. It's not the prairie. Mehdi's going to talk to us about his story, and I think he feels like, would you agree? It wasn't just like you drove across Kansas with no worries all these years in your life. You've taken some spins. I can't wait to hear your story, you guys. I
I've
want to give a
taken
little
quite a few.
bio here. What's that?
I've taken quite a few.
Buddy, I'm so excited to hear your story. I really have been looking forward to talking to you. I haven't met you before now, so let's just learn a little bit. He says he's 30 years old. Okay.
I turned 31 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you have the wisdom. I think you have the wisdom. You're an old soul. So he is a citizen of the world, which I talk about words matter. I love that, you guys. He's pursuing his dreams of becoming a shaman while continuing his master's in counseling psychology, which is beautiful. His purpose
That
is
is not
to-
happening anymore, actually.
See, he's changing his bio as we speak. You're going to tell me about that.
Absolutely.
Tell me if I'm doing anything else wrong here. His purpose is to open a healing home centered around shamanism and addiction counseling to help those from all walks of life to heal from their traumas. Did I do good on the rest of it?
Yes, you did.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Lord. Hey, buddy, welcome to the show. I can't wait to hear about your story. Talk about like having to hit
Thanks for
bottom. And I
having
know
me.
everybody's bottom is different, but let's go.
So you want to hear about the
I want to hear about, I want to start this off with actually a question, because I was talking to my boyfriend before this show, and I was coming up the stairs because we both work from home, and I was coming up towards my office, and I was talking about all three of you, but I was saying specifically with Mehdi, because I come from a family that, we've been exposed to some addictions and some stories, not as difficult as yours. Your path is very unique. But I was thinking when I came around the corner, and I said, you know what? Everybody talks about marijuana being the gateway drug, and they'll argue with that. No, it's not. No, it's not. But I was thinking about your story, and it was like beer was the gateway drug.
a little bit,
I mean,
yeah.
just
alcohol
in a
general.
way. Yeah, right. I mean, it's oversimplified. I understand that, but I'm simplifying the gateway drug, but I mean, I'm just saying that in reading your story, and I know it's much deeper than this, but it's like there wasn't a lot of trauma and horrific story that you shared, at least up to this point, that led you down this path. My question to you is, like, did it just start with partying with some friends? And let's go back to that. How did your path get started?
Yeah, like obviously I didn't really talk much about trauma before because it was all repressed until I started working with a shaman, right? And whatever is numb can be awakened. So we'll get to that if you want. But yeah, it just started, like in school. I think I was 15 or something like that. And friends are like, oh, let's go downtown and, like go try to buy some beer and hang out at the park and just talk about what we did in school. And that's how it started, right? Just hanging out and having fun, having a couple beers, and then you get introduced to more things, and then it's like a snowball rolling down the mountain, but there's no bottom. Anything went, basically.
Yeah. When people, so those of you guys that are listening and watching, I mean, I want to ask you, were you aware at the time, or you're saying that you weren't aware at the time that you were trying to numb something? Because you talk about in your story about the girls, and the girls for you, and I literally wrote them down because I need you guys to like hear this. So these are,
I just have to let him out, please.
Oh, absolutely. Go let your
Thank
little
you.
Kingston out. Absolutely. I'll cover your butt, Mehdi. So listen to this, you guys. He actually named his drug. So I want you to hear this. So Mary Jane was marijuana. Coco was cocaine. Molly was his MDMA, his ecstasy, and Nikki was his nicotine. And I want to ask you a question because I want really people to understand the progression for you and how bad it really got. Oh yeah, we got Lucy. Okay. So did personalizing and naming these help, hurt? Why?
So I gave them names, right? Because those were my relationships. You know, I only had time for them. I didn't care about meeting real girls, right? I didn't care about that. I just wanted to be with my girls, right? Which were my substances. And as crazy as it sounds, I'd have conversation with them too, right? It's like I would hear in my head, oh, have a little more. And I was like, okay, I'll have some more. Let's get high, you know, like things like that, right?
Right.
And we talked about we haven't talked about it, right? But to me, having these relationships help me feel less alone in my addictions.
Wow. And it just got progressively, because you were in college. I mean, you were getting your bachelor's, you were moving forward, your master's, and you were going through and you were doing more and more drugs to suppress more and more feelings and becoming more isolated. Is that fair to say? Kind of living in your own little
Yep,
worldish?
absolutely.
And you, all of a sudden, everybody, we all say, has a bottom, a rock bottom, which sometimes we hit 50 times, but everybody's rock
Right.
bottom is different. And your day, you were in your car. So let's talk about your rock bottom and how. Actually, let's go to commercial. We're going to go to commercial, you guys, and then we're going to come back with Mehdi's story. So you need to stay tuned and make sure that you come right back, and we will keep chatting. So you're listening to the Coach Peggy Show. Come on back. Wrapped up in my cords and everything like that. Hey, you guys, thanks for coming on back to the Coach Peggy Show. We're talking to Mehdi, and we were actually talking, you know, we were doing some roll B like behind on the commercial thing. And I'm just going to say I was calling Mehdi out, and he's not going to like this, but I was saying, hey, when we have a story and we talk about it over and over again, we forget sometimes, unless we talk to other people, our relative is kind of different. So his story for some people is going to be like, whoa, bud, you've been through a lot of stuff. You know, and Mary Ellen's story, somebody else who she's going to be sharing her story, we'd be like, oh my gosh, how did you do that all these years? So Mehdi, I'm going to make you peel it back, because you're acting like
Let's
you just
peel.
like went shopping. You're like, oh, I just went shopping. I had this really rough life. I went to the jungle and tried to be resurrected. Listen. Okay, talk to us about your bottom first, hitting your bottom, and then that step. And then you were talking about rewriting your second book, which I'm sure you have a reason. So we're sitting in the car one day.
Well, it started way before the car, right? It was that day was basically the culmination of, I want to say a month binge, right? But it could have been, it was definitely longer. And I ended up at one of the places I dislike the most, which is like strip clubs. I hate going to strip clubs.
Right.
But when I'm high, I throw everything out the window, and it doesn't matter where I am, right? As long as I can continue to get high, it's all that matters. And I was there for about 6 hours. I opened the door, it was noon, and then the sun hit me, and it was like, oh my goodness, like I just felt like a vampire. And I felt my body hiss like a snake. Like my body went like that. It did not like the light. So I went home, I sobered up, and then I ended up in the car when I basically wrote a message to one of my drug dealers that used to live in LA. And I was like, hey, dude, I'm coming to LA to pick up some heroin. I'll see you soon. And after I sent the message, I started the car, and simultaneously I started crying. And when the tears started coming, it was like an hour in limbo where I had a vision of one of my very first ceremonies with ayahuasca that actually told me this was going to happen. Like, you're going to come to this fork in the road where you're going to have to make a decision. And back then, 10 months earlier, I didn't know what that decision was, but as soon as it happened in the car, I knew exactly what it was. And the path that I was ready to take was death, because that's what I came to Vegas for. I came to Vegas to die, right? That was my mission coming here. And then that path illuminated itself, and it showed those gates that were guarded by angels. That was my vision. And then that path illuminated itself, and basically I knew what was waiting for me on the other side. It's, as soon as I would have done heroin, I would have given myself a few days, a week, a couple of weeks, maybe a month at the most, right? And that would have been the end of it. I would have taken my life by the hand of a heroin overdose. But as I was starting to get ready to make that drive, right, you know, my garage was open, I was ready to go. There was a voice, one sliver of light, you know, that was like, go down that road if you will, but know that you'll never come back. And it's true. You go down the road of death, you're not gonna come back from it.
Right.
And then my body started to fight. It's like, no, we don't want to do this. This is not what you really want to do. This is not, you're not meant to go now. And then after a lot of fighting, about an hour of it in the car, I texted my guy and I told him like, hey dude, I'm just gonna get some help and I won't be coming. And he said, no hard feelings, just get well, get help, best of luck. And I stepped out of the car, and the only message that I sent was to the retreat, one of the retreat owners in Costa Rica, the one that I usually went to, and said that I was desperate and that I needed to come to Costa Rica and do another retreat, see if I can get sober after this. And that retreat was the one that did it.
Amazing. How long ago was that, buddy?
October 8th, 2017. So 4 years
Congrats.
and a month, actually.
Congratulations.
I tattooed it on my hand too. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little feather with my sobriety date. And yeah, there's no going back. I know why I'm here. I know what I have to do, and it's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when.
So do you have, you know, it can be a lonely path, right? Because we like-minded people hang out. So it's not like, you know, we kind of pull away from our family and friends when we go down that addicted path. And so as you're getting healthier and you're pulling in your family and friends again, I mean, did you have, if you're willing to share, did you have family history or others you were exposed to in this difficult world you were now living in or coming out of?
No, so I wasn't surrounded by addiction. You know, it's like I said, the trauma was repressed at a young age, right? And it was repressed at a young age, and basically it slowly started to come out after I went sober.
Okay.
Also thanks to ayahuasca as well. And but before sobriety, I chose to go through the path alone. You know, I didn't want to bother people with it. You know, like every time I went out, I put a
Right.
mask on, that everything
Right.
was fine on the outside, but on the inside, I was completely broken, but nobody knew because I hid it so well. I was a high functioning addict, you know? And as I got sober, I started to feel more because I wasn't numbing myself anymore. And then I started letting people in a little bit, you know, because I mean, I already know you're going to ask me the question, so I might give you the answer, or I might give you the answer already. If I was to give somebody advice on it, is don't try to go through it alone.
Beautiful. Yeah. Because they're kind of telling you what you already deep down know, right? They're going to be like, you know, you have so much ahead of you in life and we love you so much. And,
yeah.
and you're like, yeah, no shit. You know, I kind of know this. So I get it. Cause they just see you as smarter, stronger, braver than you do sometimes yourself. So when you came back, quote unquote, back, ayahuasca, for those people that do not understand that, you went to a retreat in Costa Rica, and it is an herb.
It's a plant
solution.
medicine originating from the Amazon.
Thank you. And it's a process. I mean, you go down there, you're helping people, you're serving, you're giving back to the earth. I mean, it's a retreat. It's not just to go down there and drink something and you're saved. I mean, it's an experience.
It's an experience. I've never gone through anything like it. I mean, to this day, like whenever I drink, it's like going to a new, it's always like going to a new class. You think you know this, well, guess what? You don't. It peels that layer, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. It's so funny that we're like We are 2 guests in and we're still talking about onions, babies. We're peeling back the onions. We're eating onions. We're going to be crying by the
We
time
are
we're-
onions. That's what we are. If we had
That's
to
right.
be a vegetable, it would be an onion, right? Because
Amen.
and just
That's
when you think you're getting to the core, well, guess what? There's more layers to the core, and then there's layers to that core, and so on.
Exactly right.
It's an endless peel.
That's right. When it's planted, it turns into this beautiful thing. Hey, so what are your plans in helping others specifically? When you say, to any in need, I want to help any in need, do you have any specific path, or what is your short-term blank?
Well, basically, my short term is I'm open about my story. No matter who I meet, I don't care who you are, I'm gonna tell you my story. And lately, I've had people hitting me up like, "Do you have any tips on staying sober?" Like one of my friend's moms was call me the other day. Well, I didn't tell him that. I'm telling you. And she was like, "Please talk to him."
That's great.
So like, I feel like in the short term, me being open about my story and my journey and what I've been through, it's
Mhm.
giving people the chance to be like, okay, maybe because he's so open, I can reach out and maybe he will be able to help. Sure, if I'm able to help, I will definitely help. If I'm not, then I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, I can't help.
And that's even what the 4 of us are here about. And that's what I love about compilation books. It's like chicken soup of the soul. You can sit wherever you are, doctor's office, bathtub, there's the short stories, and you're going to connect to bits and pieces of each one of them, if not every single one of them. And we are helping others by being transparent and authentic, and people living vicariously through us. You don't have to be an expert. You don't need a degree. It's an expert and degree in life. And I love the fact that you just said that. And it doesn't matter if you guys, if you're 10, 12, 15, 40, we all have a story to tell, and we're more alike than not. Ladies, Mary Ellen, what do you think of Mehdi? Like we all talk about each other. Like, what do you think? What do you have to say to him?
Mehdi, first of all, I'm so glad that you're alive.
Thank
and
you.
that you really,
Right.
and that you chose a path that you're going to be expressing your wisdom and your vulnerability. And I feel like such a purposeful path to help so many people. I'm respecting the strength that you have and the fact that you can share so openly is exactly what's needed. I'm thinking you're probably touching hearts right now with this story.
I appreciate that.
I really respect and applaud you in this mission that you
I
have.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I think one of the things that we need to remember, it doesn't matter what your profession is, we talk to people every day, whether they're a child, and I mean, people see us, people listen, like, through other people, and but every day we change or save lives. I mean, we just simply do. And this is a particular story that I really believe, Mehdi, that I really want you to hear me on this, because I can be your mother right now because you're young enough to be my son. I really want you to hear this. In my career, I've gotten to the place where I don't need to have the pat on the back to know that I've changed somebody's life. Just know that you are. And you may not always get the letter or the call of how much you did, but you need to know that from the second that you took a breath, that was your mission on earth, is to live enough so that you have enough data and enough experience to speak authentically to your story. And I'm really excited about your future. Eileen, what do you have to say about Mehdi?
There's so much I want to say, so I'm going to try to make it a Reader's Digest, because he's got such a wonderful story to tell in how he went from hitting rock bottom and came through that dark night of the soul with strength, with courage, with confidence that he's going to make a difference, and he is making a difference, not just for the people, but for himself as well, as leading by example. And so through that, he's giving hope just by sharing his story to other people who might be sitting there saying, I'm on death's door, but I don't want to go there. Mm-hmm. And that spirit, that soul within them is trying to pull them back. And so your story, what you're doing, your help, can save lives, and just talking about what you've done to save your life and to keep you grounded in earth form, is planting a seed for someone
Amazing.
today. Every time you speak and share, I was here now, or I was there and
Yeah.
now I'm here, and this is how I did it. And for you to be able to reach out to others is a blessing.
And it's so
I
timely
appreciate
too,
that.
because I know coming off of COVID and everybody being stuck home, and you know this, Mehdi, is the platform that you have right now. Talk about being able to, I've been doing this a long time, and before anybody said Zoom, I've been doing this. And I'll tell you right now, the opportunity that you have to reach the masses has never been like it is today. And you are primed with coming off of COVID and people being stuck home, and mental health now is being talked about more than ever and being respected more than ever, that exponentially, like, explosion opportunity that you have to help. And if there's anything that I can do to help you along the way, I would
I
be
appreciate that.
proud to.
Mental health is one of the if not the most important
Yep,
things that we're not taught about.
that's
You-
exactly right.
You sometimes learn about mental health a little too late.
That's true. I know. I get you.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk to the other lady in the room, who I think has like the most timely story as we come up on the holidays. Her actual story, Mary Ellen Lucas. Her story is a Christmas gift mantra. And it's actually a story that happened over several years. But Mary Ellen is an interfaith, interspiritual minister, author of children's books, Theory of Life on the Little Puddle Pond, talk about cute, and a spiritual mentor and ceremony officiant. And I want to welcome you to the show. You guys are going to be inspired on her. She and I were on a show a while back, and she is one that I thought about. I've got to say this before she starts. She starts at kind of the end of her story. She's like, yep, life is good and it was amazing. And I learned a lot and it was just a beautiful thing. And God is amazing. My son is amazing. Girl, it started way before that. Like, your son, you have gone through a lot with your son. And I really want you to speak to what seizures are, grand mal seizures, what they are, and how the heck you became so resilient in, because they happen like that, unscheduled. So take it away.
Okay, so I'll go back to the beginning with my oldest son, Sean.
Mhm.
Was born perfectly normal, developed perfectly normally. He had all his milestones and he was a beautiful baby. He was born on December 8th, and it's a Mary's feast day, which will tie into the story I'll tell a little later. About 10 and a half months old, he fell and went into a full-blown grand mal seizure, which is frightening since I had never seen one before. And he stiffened and started shaking, and the emergency room visit that followed identified nothing. No test showed anything. So they said, well, check with the neurologist if it happens again. And sure enough, it happened again a couple weeks later. So I think from that point on, my quest as a mother was trying to get seizures under control and try to understand what would be triggering for him. He developed many different seizure types. And I tried traditional medicine, I tried integrative medicine, I tried all kinds of methods. People would tell me things, well, B12, have you heard about that? And I tried it, you know, anything that anyone suggested, I was all for. And no matter what, nothing stopped the seizures, nothing. At one point we had brain surgery, and maybe the seizures were lessened, but there was never a point where the seizures were completely in control.
Was he able to
So-
go to school, Mary Ellen? What was the care like? Did you have to stay home, take care of him? Yeah, okay.
He went to special education, and then because I had two younger kids, he did go into a residency that was heartbreaking for me. But I felt like that was the care that was needed. There was, you know, he was put on a lot of medication, and we were constantly switching medications. That one was phenobarbital. So he was like a wild person. And then he would have a seizure buildup, I would call it, where it's almost like a relief when he'd have the seizure because he was so beside himself. So he, I don't think, ever meant to be behaviorally challenging, but there was a lot of challenges, and there was just a lot of energy then through the years of, because of the medications he was on, the toll the seizures took. There was more medical issues that came up. There was more decline with his abilities. So eventually he really got almost to a nonverbal state, and then he stopped walking at a point and went into a wheelchair. So, you know, we were told in the beginning of the seizures that he was going to develop normally, and that is not what happened. And I think every step of the way was heartbreaking to some extent, but I'm determined as a mother to do whatever I needed to do and try and fix the situation, except there was no fixes. And
So
yeah.
you were later in, you went to mass, and later in
Yes.
life, and I'm not aware of like what age he was, but you're sitting in mass, and that's where your story kind of has this beautiful, goes from mayhem to miracle. So what happened to you guys when you were in mass?
Yeah, so it's Christmas Mass, and we're right in the front, which is not where we want to really sit, but there was where 5 seats were available, so we could actually sit all together. And right in the beginning of Mass, Sean screams, which is what he would do sometimes when, before a seizure would start, he'd have an aura and he would call out, and then he would stiffen and then start convulsing. So as soon as I heard the yell, I knew, okay, he's gonna seizure. So I sat down and tried to hold him, make sure, you know, he was safe. And the priest stopped the Mass and turned and looked at us, and everyone around us heard him, heard Sean, saw what was happening. It looks awful. It looks like an emergency, and I'm trying to stay calm. So people would know this isn't the emergency it looks like. And so the priest went back to saying Mass. Sean, eventually the seizure stopped. He would then be totally wiped out after seizure. So I just knew he was going to be sleeping, and I would just hold him. And I'm not paying any attention to Mass at this point. I'm thinking about, what did I do? You know, did I do anything to contribute to the seizure? Then I'm thinking ahead to the day, thinking now it's ruined for him. He's just not going to be the same happy boy opening Christmas presents, and we were seeing family later. He was going to be lethargic, and I'm thinking about that. And all of a sudden I noticed the priest is now giving his homily, and I'm starting to listen again because he's talking about Mother Mary. And so Mother Mary, I have a special devotion to her. And he's talking about how in the Christmas story, how she went on a journey and she didn't know what was going to happen. And then he turned and looked at me and he said, but it was okay. And he went on with the Christmas story and talked about Mary didn't know, you know, giving birth in the stable was just what was happening, and how hard that had been for her, and what was going to be happening to her baby. And then he turned and looked at me again and said, but it was okay. And I realized he's now talking to me. And throughout the rest of the homily, he focused on Mary and not knowing what was going to be happening, but it was okay. And those were the words that I always said to Sean. Anytime he seizured, I was always saying to Sean, it's okay. You're okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. So here's this priest now saying this to me. And after like the third or fourth, it's okay, I'm like really letting that settle in me and getting out of my head into my heart, and could feel this stillness and peace that just I felt like I could lean into those words, that it's okay. And even though I kind of did a little bit like, well, why did Mary think it was okay? Like everything that happened to Jesus, how could that be okay? And yet it was okay. And so I got a sort of this understanding that I never really had before. And I felt like it was grace in that moment that allowed me to be in the spaciousness
That's
of
awesome.
just that okayness. Yeah.
That's, sometimes we have to hear it in a different way to kind of snap us out of that.
Yeah.
We're going to be
It's a
tying
good-
up here in a little bit, you guys, because it goes so fast when we're having fun. Mary Ellen, the magic wand question. So if you could go back, is there any call to action that you would say to anybody else in your situation, or anything that you would would you be softer to yourself maybe? What would you do if you went back? What advice would you do for yourself? Give to yourself maybe?
I think there's a few things. I would definitely ask for help. I didn't let my other
Love it.
people know how hard it was for me, because I had to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. We
So
all hear you.
Yeah, I didn't talk about emotional vulnerability or my heart's breaking. I
Yeah.
never talked about that. And so I would definitely say, share, like Mehdi had said, share your vulnerability and let people in and ask for help. And I think if I could have that magic wand, I would learn more about mindfulness, how to stay in the present moment, because I would be so much about what had happened and so much worried about what was going to come. So being in the present is that magic wand I'd give myself, and learn how to do that.
Many times that mindfulness experience doesn't come proactively, it comes reactively. It's like until we need it, it seems like we haven't quite learned it. You guys, I need to have you let everybody know how to find you. So if they want to reach out and if they can connect with you, Eileen, how can everybody reach you?
I have a website, hoteluniverse.com, and coach at eileenbild.com.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Mehdi, how can people reach out to you?
The best way to reach me is on Instagram. My handle is Mehdi, MEHDI_LBA, B as in boy, or
That's awesome.
via email. Shoot me an email. Let's chat.
What's your email, buddy?
So it's Mehdi, MEHDI_LA @iCloud.com.
Perfect. Mary Ellen? Perfect. Mary Ellen, where can they reach you?
Yeah, my website is thelovingway.me.
You guys, I had too much fun.
You were delightful, Peggy. Thank you.
I don't think delightful has
boy.
ever been used to describe me, but I will take it. There have been many words, but I will take delightful. That is lovely. You guys listen again. I am going to be doing 5 shows. So this is 2 of 5. We're going to skip Thanksgiving week. The last show, I'm going to be doing a one-on-one with Mr. James Redfield, that's in the book. So I'm super excited about that. If you guys want an autographed book, because I'm nobody, but it's fun and I have some stickers, you can go onto my website at peggywilms.com on my author tab. How fun is that to be able to say that? Next week, I'm going to have Charla Charpentier, Teresa Velarde, and Barbara Bertucci. I have like all these Italian and just amazing names. So we're going to be on to talk about more true stories of courage and triumph and peace and all of those fun things. And we talk all things wellness and all things well-being. And I want to tell you guys, thank you so much for being here. We will be in touch. And my favorite producer in the whole entire world, Jacob, you can take us away. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Coach Peggy Show, all things wellness, with me, Coach Peggy Wilms. Tune in every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where I talk all things wellness, not just about your nutrition and your fitness, but about all things, about your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. We help you truly understand all things wellness, and it's not just a diet. The Coach Peggy Show, we get bold, we get badass, and we never go half in. For more information or to connect with me, go visit allthingswellness.com.